Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. And we haven't got an interview today because we did release a very special one a couple days ago with Sam Jones. Obviously, he's just won the treble with the Sheffield Steelers. He played for GB and importantly, he played for the Wildcats. So go check that out. An hour and a half interview. It was a really good one, wasn't it, Charlie? But we've got so much news and signings, and I've also asked for a few of you guys, few of the hockey fan viewers, to send in some questions as well. And we got quite a few nice little questions. I'm interested to see your boys' opinions on them. First of all, Dan, you doing all right? Obviously, you come to ours the other day, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. All good.
Yeah, obviously, Oilers have gone down 1-0. We all watched that together in the front room at 1 o'clock in the morning, but it's all right. There's six more games to go. So hopefully the Oilers can pull through. Charlie, you doing all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Enjoyed watching the second best player in the world get shut out. Um, Obviously behind number 89. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. We enjoyed meeting up. The trio reunited, but I think the next trip I'll have to go down to wherever Dan's from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe, maybe I'll let you in. I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe you will.
maybe. But yeah, we all met each other for the first time for I think 2 or 3 months, literally since Coventry. So that was pretty cool. Um, we're gonna start with some sad news. I know it was a few days ago. The passing of Tony Milton. Obviously, Zach and Danny as well. They've played in the NIHL, so our thoughts with that family of Tony Milton. So I thought I'd just shout that out first. And then we've got some good news of Romford. Romford will be staying in the NIHL, and I've actually got the tweet up here. They put out a tweet saying, "We are pleased to announce that the Ice Hockey Club Romford Raiders will be returning for the 24-25 season as the new owners have been accepted into the National League." And that is quite important because all the owners from every team have to come together and basically accept them into the league. But the junior hockey is being worked on, so please be patient with us. It is quite good news, Dan, to hear that they're in. We never want to see a team leave the league. They haven't as far announced any players staying, but hopefully from now on they can try and start building their roster together.
Yeah, I think it's for the best interest really for the coaches and the management, sort of letting these teams with obviously you want a bigger league, you know what I mean? You don't want teams leaving all the time. So yeah, it's good that they've obviously been accepted in. I know the Romford fans are obviously getting a bit shaky with it because they didn't have any news and it was sort of just all departures. But I'm glad they've actually put that statement out now so they can sort of start building their team now for the next season and hopefully they bring in some shock signings to sort of get the fans' hopes back up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Charlie obviously losing their coach Sean Easton and then losing their captain Aaron Connolly, and there's been rumblings and rumours of players from their team last season leaving as well. But how can Raiders come forward now? What do they have to do to go forward and battle like they have done in the past couple seasons?
To be honest, I think it's just good that they're playing. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think there's going to be huge expectations on them. It sucks because they were building something. They obviously made playoffs for the first time 2 seasons ago. They comfortably got in playoffs last year, as in qualified for playoffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to take them step backs. My expectation next year, unless they surprise us with some big signings, I don't think they'll get playoffs. If the departure rumors are true. But it's good that they're in the league. It's going to be frustrating for the fans. It's going to be a rebuild again. They're going to have to build back from the bottom up again. But whoever they bring in needs to just buy into whoever the new coach is, and the fans in Romford are quite good at getting behind their team as well.
Absolutely. As you said, I think the most important thing is they've got a team for next season and they're not having to go down a league, and then that affects all the juniors and the Buccaneers. So at least they've got this ownership in place, and we'll have to see how that goes, and we'll keep updates in the next couple of weeks. It has been over a week since we've talked about all the transfers and signings before that. So I've literally got over a page full of signings, some new players joining the league, since we last did an episode. So if you're wondering why are they talking about these players now? They've been signed 4 or 5 days ago. It's because we haven't done a podcast since then. So I've got them down, and we're just going to go through them. And then we got the Q&A section at the end, which I think will be quite fun. Firstly, Bulas back for a 15th season, Wildcats legend. It's not confirmed whether he's going to be captain yet. Obviously, it's not come out. But 15th season, that's a good signing. And last season, Dan, he definitely proved he was a big game player.
Yeah, he's sort of got to that time in the career now where he has a role now. He's not going to be in the top six, but he can play there. You know what I mean? He's not
Yeah.
always going to be there, but in certain games, like you saw last season, he can fill in that role on the top line. He can start off on the first face off of the game.
Yeah.
He can sort of go up and down the lines. He can be a really good mentor for the youngsters. He's
Yeah.
sort of been at the club for so long now. He knows the systems. Obviously, he knows Nell really well. And yeah, it's another player that you just wouldn't imagine him being anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if he wasn't at Swindon, he would probably be quitting hockey. But the fact he's signed up, I think, is a good thing. And Charlie, the Wildcats have literally just tweeted that the Swindon Wildcats too have secured a place in the National Division South. That's good news. That's really good news, actually. Obviously, we put the application in, and now that's actually been confirmed just now on the Twitter. So that's really good for the youth of Swindon, actually, because now they've got a team in the men's league. Charlie, actually, quickly on that, you talked about some of the young players who come in last season. We've had chats about it, and even Dylan Lipsey as well. That could be a nice little pathway, actually, considering a lot of teams are doing these sort of pathways.
It helps Romford a lot. Obviously they've had quite a few of their youngsters come through there. MK are working on it. They haven't had a huge amount of youngsters come through yet, but I'm sure they'll try work on MK Thunder. But no, it's a good pathway for a lot of players. Someone like Dylan, who didn't get the most amount of ice time last year.
He's still so
Um,
young.
he's like that, but it'll be good to see him playing consistent minutes in the National One League against some good opponents in that league.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Bully, great signing back for the season. For me, I think he can play on a fourth line, but then if you need him to step up and play on, as you said, down a first line, he can do that as well. And he scored some huge goals. Looking back at last season, he scored in the playoffs against MK, which was to put us 2 goals up. He scored in the semi-final against MK. He scored against Leeds as well. So, he scored twice against Leeds in the playoffs. So, yeah, I think he's a very, very good player to have and good round the dressing room. Cathcart to Bees from Slough, and then there was also Preston as well. There's Cathcart brothers, aren't they, Dan?
Yeah. You got Ty Cathcart, Roman Cathcart. Yeah,
So yeah, I think Ty's gone to Bees from Slough, and then Roman and Preston have signed with the Bees as well. But the Bees actually, sorry, we've got so many partnerships. The Bees have now got a partnership with Streatham. So I think that's quite an interesting one. And Charlie, I'm going to ask you a question in a second. But that's a good little opportunity for those for Cathcart and Toms, isn't it?
yeah. They've also got a partnership with that Cardiff team as
Oh
well.
yeah, 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 yeah. They have, yeah,
Um, but yeah, I was talking to you about Roman. Literally whenever we met. I
yeah.
can't remember what
On
day it
Saturday, it
was.
was Saturday night.
Yeah, he can definitely do something in this league. He's obviously still really young, like Dylan Lipsey as well. So I think having that little two-way with Streatham, obviously Streatham are a well-established team in that league, which would be a really good move for him. He should get decent minutes in that league and sort of obviously step in for the Bees as well.
Yeah,
Um, Obviously, I think having Tate on the bench, I think that maybe put a good word in about him. It wouldn't surprise me because I think he liked him at Basingstoke.
yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely a guy that is someone to watch out for in the future because he'll throw his body around, he'll get involved, and he'll do a job.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie, the question I was going to ask you, obviously, I posed it in our chat. Obviously, bees are having this pathway with Streatham, but bees are playing at Slough's rink, so it's quite interesting. And you'd think there is a bit of maybe a rivalry. I know they're not in the same league between Slough and the bees, do you reckon? And obviously, we've just seen Baird and Doughty as well. They're both leaving the bees to join Streatham. So do you think that will be a bit of tension throughout the season?
Well, they're not in the same league,
I
so
know, yeah,
not massively, but they clearly don't fully get along because they don't do a two-way system. But
yeah.
you know, one of them things. I can't
Yeah.
really. There's not much to say on it, to be honest.
But then they work hand in hand to actually get a team playing in an ice rink because there's not many ice rinks in the UK. So there's that part of it as well. But there was quite a few exits actually from the Bees. Obviously, we had Harvey Stead. Um, that is a massive signing for Streatham, and the level of the NIHL one, Dan, is going right up because a lot of these, like Baird, Doughty, Harvey Stead, they can all do a job in the NIHL and they're moving down to the NIHL one, aren't they? Which is just,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. The level is going up a lot. I do think that's a good thing because obviously we were saying about that pathway. These players are going to be dropping down. These youngsters are going to be going down, playing against really good quality teams now. It's not any mess around. You know what I mean? I think it's sort of been looking that way for a few years, but this season I think it's definitely going to show like the quality that has sort of come around in that league. And it will just be really good to have those players playing against these players and then coming up and not having so much of a big jump, if you know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think it'll help a lot of progression with players too. So that's always good for British hockey.
yeah. Charlie, that is three D men from Bees' D core leaving from last season. Harvey Stead, who's arguably one of their best D men they've had. He's been a Bees lad through and through. Brendan Baird, who done a job for them last season, and obviously Bradley, who come to Swindon. That is quite a big hole in the defence, but I'm sure Goodbye and Tate have got a few players in mind to sign up for that D spot.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to replace to the standard of them players. I
Yeah, it's
don't think
hard to replace.
I don't think they're around. I don't think you find demon which get 40 points like Bradley. That they don't grow on trees, but they just need to retool a little bit. Find different types of demon. Maybe that's making more of a stronger decor physically. I don't know, but yeah, it's always difficult for the bees. They do get a lot of their players pinched every single season. Like
Yeah.
they are that team where they develop a good talent and he moves on. Juha Lindgren developed a good talent, got pinched by another team, and Swindon have pinched some of their players before, and other teams will because yeah, I can imagine as a Bees fan, it can get frustrating. You finally have a good team gelled together, and then it's got one season and it's moved on.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but that's just how the league is, isn't it? And it's the same with the Elite League. But I still think they've got the core players signed up. I was speaking to you in the car, Charlie. They've got core players signed up for next season. You've got Mog, you've got Antonov, you've got Goodbye, you've got Balaz. I'm interested to see who their keeper's going to be. They haven't announced a keeper yet, but they've got some core players in there. And obviously, Tate's huge, Dan. We've talked about that, having that bench coach, and he's got a relationship with a lot of players as well. One D man, you talked about D men being hard to come by, Charlie, is Godfrey, and he signed back with Swindon. Again, with Whitfield leaving, it was probably a no-brainer for Aaron to bring Godfrey back because he is now one of the older D men in the team, isn't he?
Yeah, Whitfield's a good. No, sorry, Godfrey's a good signing. You know what you're getting with him. He's still only, I think he's 30, 31. So he's not too old. He gets good assists, does a decent job, and one of them players I always say, if you're gonna do well, you need your local boys, and he's one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad Goddard is back. I just think Aaron said it perfectly. He said when Godfrey was out injured, you actually did notice him being missing a lot. And I think with us bringing through Jamie Smith, Ed Bradley's still young. I do think you need a senior D man in the D core. Fisher also signed back for Hull again, just like Godfrey. He's one of them senior defensemen to come in. We'll talk about another
Defenseman.
one they've signed in a minute. What's that? Sorry,
Fisher ain't a defenseman.
sorry. Is he a forward?
Yeah.
Who's the one who played? Oh, that's Wilcox. I'm getting confused with Wilcox. But Fisher's signed back, and he's one of the senior guys of the team who can just do a job, a bit like Bully.
Yeah, he just does a job. Third, fourth line. They got quite a young bottom six, as you'd say. So having an experienced guy there is important for the youngsters.
Yeah. We'll go on to the big one. I know I'm doing all of these a bit out of order. Brock Bartholomew got announced as leaving. I think a lot of us saw that come in. When you're the highest top point scoring D-man in the league, you're going to get interest from other teams, and I think he is a better. He can do better than our league. No disrespect to our league, that just speaks levels of the player he is. But Dan, they announced the next day, Davy Phillips. That is not a bad little signing. It's not. I don't think he's quite the attacking output of Brock, but he's definitely going to bring in a bit more defensive stability, which is what I think Hull actually need.
Yeah, I don't think they really need that offensive guy in D. You know what I mean? I don't think they really need that. Obviously,
Barmer can
defenseman,
do it. He's shown that he
yeah,
can do it as well.
yeah, he can, and Tom Barry can do it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think D-men, if they defend the goal, they've done their job. You know what I mean? If they get a few goals, or you mainly look for points, you may looking at assists. I think from D-men.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they're on the power play and stuff, you'd probably see a few goals and stuff. But they've got the players that can sort of fill in that offensive spot. And Davy Phillips, I think, for what they had to choose out from, I think Davy Phillips is probably the best of the bunch you can have. To be honest, he's
Yeah.
the amount of experience he's got. He's been all around the elite league. Obviously, playing in top flight for GB. He's going to be unreal in this league. He will defensively. I think he'll be better than Brock.
Yeah.
To be
Oh, yeah.
honest,
I think he will. Yeah.
he will definitely fill in that spot. And yeah, I don't think they'll miss out on that offensive bit because I think of the forwards they've got and sort of like I said, the other D men as
Davy
well.
Phillips will rack up like 35
Yeah,
points.
he'll still get points
Probably.
Yeah,
because he's going to drop down a level. But the thing I think is so important, Charlie, they've got Zamostra in now, and he's 35 years old. They've got Davy Phillips, he's 36 years old. They've got Jason Hewitt, he's 36 years old as well. They've got three old veteran guys who know how to win and are going to keep that team who's got quite a lot of personalities. I think they're going to keep it level headed. They're still going to show their personalities, but I think it will just calm it down in those situations, which I think they need to in those big games. I think that's going to be the key of them helping them win trophies.
Yeah, they've got the best defensive D man in the league.
Yeah.
Like
mm-hmm.
Davy Phillips, like it's disgusting. He had a plus 17 in the Elite League last year. Like, he's very good. He's played in AHL. Like, he's an import slot of a D.
Yeah.
And they've got him. Hewitt, obviously, big signing experience. Amodra, I do think there could be problems caused there. I think it could be positive or negative. It can go one or the other. Jordan McLaughlin ain't there to be a backup. So don't know who's going to play more or less games. Maybe it's 50-50, but then I've never been a huge fan of that. You play your goalie on form. So there's a problem there for me, but it'd be interesting to see how Matty Davies and Jonathan Phillips, by the way, assistant coach.
Oh yeah, I didn't say that. Sorry, yeah.
Go about that, and Kevin Phillips as well as another assistant coach, I think Dan said. So yeah, it's going to be a fun season for Hull next year, and I'm excited to see whether they go for an import D man or an import forward as their third import.
Yeah, obviously, it's a tricky one, isn't it? We could debate about this for ages, but they've brought in Hewitt. He's almost the replacement for Ulrich, a more experienced replacement. They've kept all of the other forward talent they have. I still think, and we've said this, Charlie. Sorry. I still think they need to replace Toner. I think he's an experienced centerman, and I think they could do with that on that third line. I don't think they've announced Salem or signed Salem up, so I'll be interested to see if he signs again, because he could even play on a third line, and that is fantastic to have Salem on a third line. So yeah, we'll see in the next coming weeks, and I think Matty and the crew, Connor, who does the whole podcast, I think they're going to come on with us to do our whole special, and Matty's going to talk about all the sign-ins and stuff, which will be really cool. So yeah, go check out their interviews they've done with the players, and I'm sure we can get a couple of on this podcast as well. Let's move away from Hull then. Where do we go for? Let's go for the Phantoms, and they've signed up Jasper Foster. I know that was a week ago. Charlie, I'll ask you on this one. Jasper, obviously, we've had him on the podcast twice. He's the only guest so far to come back on the podcast. A really, really good lad. but also a very big hard worker on the ice, and his points gradually go up every single season.
Yeah, he's a very good role player. He offers a bit more than points. He's the type of Slava player you want, and I think he'll want to increase his points this year for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad Jasper's back there,
Oh
and
my days,
he seemed
the Swindon Wildcat roster
yeah.
for the twos is been announced.
Oh, what?
Yeah, you've
Has
got
it?
Brett Messi and Ben Clark Leach as the goalies.
Oh, that's a good little duo. That.
Ben Neversau, Ollie Stone,
Oh,
Will Hardin, Ben Mason, George Howe, Josh Burnett,
oh my
Cal
days, yeah.
Horsey, Jake Lydiard. You've then got Steve Osmond, who's
Is he the one who played for Hull?
no,
Oh,
uh, I don't believe so.
He played for Stolen.
Yeah, Liam
okay.
Coleman, Dylan Lipsey, Alfie
Alfie.
Druitt, Sam Rye, Charlie Turner, Tom Ashmore, Hayden Lee, Jay Warren,
Jay Warren. Wow.
Matt Lauday, Luca Kurt Brownie, Okar Sagan, Ethan Taylor, and Jan Costel Jr.
Oh, yeah, Costal Junior. Hey.
Tell you what, that's a for players. That's a very good.
Oh,
Nice
fair
little
enough. They've
team.
released their team straight away. That's a young goalkeeping core, but those are the two netminders which could be the future of Swindon. Obviously, I'm not going to put loads of pressure on, but Brett Massey and Ben Clark Leach, that's a good duo. Dylan Lipsey being in there is really good. I don't know if
Jay
there's
Warren.
I don't. Yeah, Jay Warren. That's interesting. That he's going to cause some problems in that league. I think he'll score quite a lot of points. I don't know if there's an import in there, but someone who we thought would be in there would be Jan Kostel. And imagine Jan Kostel playing with his son. That would be so cool. Oh man, I want to see that. But
Mate,
yeah,
I had to mention that because that's
yeah,
to be honest, like I love the fact that you've got a couple of experienced players like Steve Osman and Liam Coleman and even Joe Warren.
Will Harden as well.
But then the key for me is Ben Neversau, Ollie Stone, Will Harden. These players can help develop the younger players in the team.
Yeah.
Nice little lineup. And a great addition to Swindon Wild.
It's good to see Ollie Stone back out there as
Yeah,
well.
that is really cool to see, actually. I didn't know if he'd play again. Obviously, he'll probably see how he feels. Just a quick one. Number 11, George Howe. I think he's about 6'9" without skates. I think he's that lad who is so tall.
Oh, George Howe, yeah, he is.
Yeah,
He's
he is
6'9",
absolutely huge. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that is it. Sorry, thank you for bringing that up, Charlie. But yeah, that's a pretty cool one. Where were we? We were on Jasper Foster. Yeah, a really good one to come back. And they also announced someone else, and we were very impressed with this signing. We did message Tom Norton, and we said, "Oh, that's a really nice pickup." Tom Palmer from the Sheffield Steel Dogs has chosen to go to the Peterborough Phantoms. Dan, I'll come to you. Especially last season, he showed glimpses of being a really good little youngster, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think he did have a little bit of a link with the Steelers as well. I think he was one of the first Steel Dogs players to have a link with Steelers. I think.
Yeah, he was.
I
I think,
think
yeah,
yeah. I don't think he played many games, but there was definitely some at there.
yeah,
Um, it is definitely interesting that he's obviously picked Phantoms over staying with the Steel Dogs. He obviously maybe thought he'd get a bit more ice time for Peterborough, maybe get his role there in Peterborough. And I don't blame him for going to Peterborough, to be honest. Being with Slava is never a bad thing.
yeah,
Yeah, he's just another one of them players that will just work and he'll grind. Pretty much a perfect player for Slava.
yeah.
It's the ones that he loves. And I'm sure he's going to definitely do a job for Slava. He's just one of them players that you can put up and down the lineup as well. Can play in the scenarios, and yeah, he's a really good signing.
Yeah, obviously he's a Nottingham boy. That does help. You got the main man himself, Tom Norton, who's from Nottingham as well. So it just shows, Charlie, that after Peterborough getting that success, even though they might have not been the best team on paper, they did it with a lot of young lads. We're talking Jarvis Hunt, Jasper Foster, Billy Thorpe. Tom Palmer obviously feels his progression is going to be more suited to going to Peterborough rather than Sheffield.
Yeah, we don't know whether Sheffield offered him a contract.
Well, yeah.
Can't assume, but I can imagine they would have. Peterborough's the best place to develop as a youngster in the league. Peterborough or Telford. I still back it. Them two places for me. obviously players can develop at other clubs, Owen Bratton,
Jamie
Ollie Nags,
Smith.
all sorts. But just the way Slava and Tom Watkins, and in my opinion, I love Slava to bits as well. The way he is able to mentor young players into growing into these players.
Yeah.
Already, how we've seen Austin Mitchell King develop over the last 2 years. And you basically look at the whole Peterborough roster, and they're all Slava developed. Brad Barron, Billy Thorpe, even Scott Robson's been there for a while.
You're looking at
Tom Norton.
Slagkowski. He's improved, I think, as an import.
And the thing with Tom Palmer, which is exciting, is he hasn't ever had a huge point scoring National League season.
Yeah.
But he's really good at skating.
Yes,
He's a great skater. And I think that's something the Peterborough team was lacking a little bit of.
Yeah.
They've got quite a lot of physical, strong, big bodies. But I think a nice skating, elegant player could be good for that roster. And Nern Slava, give him 2 years, he'll be a point a game player and he'll win a trophy for them. So
yeah, and I've seen a lot of people saying this is the young Will Weldon replacement. So obviously that's a very high name to live up to because Weldon is a Peterborough Phantoms legend. But yeah, it's not a bad little signing to come in and a new signing which I know a lot of fans love. Onto a signing which I'm very impressed with, and I think this is going to be key for the Milton Keynes Lightning next season. I'm really interested to see how this guy progresses even more. That is Ben Brown signing back with the MK Lightning. Obviously, we talk about it every single week. Christie and Green obviously moving on and retiring. Ben Brown played D-man. I'd say he played defenseman more than forward, didn't he, Dan, last season? Obviously, he can play forward, but I think he's a very, very good D-man. He skates really well. And actually, one of the most underrated parts of his game is his offensive shot from the blue line. He's got an absolute laser from the blue line. And I actually think he's early one. I don't know if this is going to spoil it. He is definitely consideration for my ones to watch for Milton Keynes next season.
Yeah, I saw his shot live against Leeds from the blue line. I think they posted it. Yeah, he has got a really good shot. And this, yeah, he's gonna grow. He's gonna grow at MK. I think I think he's probably the best for him because he's sort of already got his slot in there. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's already getting his ice time and stuff like that. And I think yeah, it's probably a no-brainer for him to sort of re-sign an MK. And obviously with the spaces that have been opened up in D, he's going to obviously be fighting for those spots now. He's going to be wanting to prove to Tim that he can do it.
Yeah.
He's going to be wanting to grow himself this off season, so he's ready and raring to go for next season and to obviously get into them spots because
Yeah.
all these like you got Stolbury as well. They're going to be fighting for those spots now because they've seen they're going to be open, and you know what the pool's like for D men now. So
Yeah.
there's no reason why they can't get into them spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Charlie, a lot of youth signing up for MK, obviously re-signing as well. I think that's going to be key next year. They're definitely still one of the quickest teams. It's a young team, isn't it?
MK had 9 D-men last year, so I think coming into this year with a couple less D-men, I think it gives opportunity to players.
Yeah, I
They
agree
know
with
they
that.
got their spot. They know that it's not going to get whipped away from them. But yeah, I think Ben Brown's going to be in an interesting position because he's going to be challenging potentially some of the what you'd call top 4D and
Yeah.
Nags, Griffin, Malik if he resigns. I don't know if he has yet, and Solder. And Ben Brown will be going, I want some top 4D minutes. So be interesting to see if he can potentially get into that top 4.
Yeah. From one underrated player to another. And I know we actually picked him out when it got to Coventry because we were like, actually, let's have a look at this guy's points. And I'm going to try and get them up now, but I'll quickly ask you on it, Dan. Louis Newell to Telford. I think last season was his proper breakout season. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he sort of. I didn't really see a lot of him on the scoring wise, but again, you're probably going to show me the points, and he's probably going to have
He
got
got
enough.
so it was actually his third season in the NIHL. His first season with Sheffield, 22 games, he got 2 points. Second season with Sheffield, 3 points in 10 games. Last season, he played a full season, 28 points. That is a very, very big jump, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And they're the players that teams want because the depth in squads is so important, and
Yeah.
the fact that you can get that point production from probably what was he, third line, second line?
Yeah,
I think
third
he
line,
was
I think it
between the
was.
both. So to get that point production from a third liner is is unbelievable, and the fact he's gonna be going to build on that next season is even better. And I think Telford is going to be a really exciting team next season.
Yeah.
I've been looking at their roster, and yeah, they're definitely building something special
And
there.
Charlie, it just goes back to what you just said. Tom Watkins, he's Tom Watkins isn't 20 years old. Louis Newell's 20 years old. And Tom Watkins has signed up another young lad, just like Mitchell King on a 2 year, just like Finley Howes on a 2 year, just like Harry Ferguson on a 2 year. Louis Newell's on a 1 year, but still, the point improvement since he's played under Tommy Watkins is massive. Another young lad who signed back for Leeds, actually two young lads. The first one's Griffin. Obviously, he's been at Leeds the last 2 or 3 seasons now. He's signed up again. I don't think that's a surprise. And I think he goes under the radar again because of just how good Leeds' defence is. And the other player who we actually spoke to at Coventry, and I'm not saying he gave it away, but we kind of knew what was happening, was Bo Neely. And he signed a 3 year deal with the Leeds Knights, and I think that is because he's going to be doing university, which kind of helps being in Leeds, doesn't it? So 3 years in Leeds. Again, just like we said for Baldwin last week, that is not good news for the rest of the NIHL that Bo Neely is staying at Leeds for 3 years, isn't it, Charlie?
It's a good signing. It's a good signing. Bo Neely, 3 years. Yeah, go away, Leeds.
Dan, I know from that first game you watched of him, you've been a massive fan on him, and the fact he's going to keep improving as well is just scary.
Yeah, that's the scariest bit is he's not even like at his best yet. Like he's
Yeah,
still growing. And last season, I mean, if he was in my team, I'd be happy with what he was like last season. But the fact he's
yeah.
probably going to be getting even better, I don't think you can blame with that really.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to quickly just shout out. Someone gave me a message. Leeds do have a charity game, I think, on the 21st of July, and they've got a lot of legends playing, and it's in memory of Greg Marshall, the former rink manager. So they've got a lot of some big players. I think Kieran Brown's playing in it. So yeah, there'll be a lot of big players in that. So if you're around the Leeds area and you want to watch a fun hockey game on the 21st, there is the charity game at the Planet Ice Leeds. There's more details on the Leeds night. So I thought I'd quickly give that a shout out. But yeah, that's another couple signings for Leeds. We've got a few more to get through, and then we can finally answer a few questions. And the next one, Charlie, I'll actually come to you because he's a good little mate of ours, and that is Josh Shaw. He's back for Swindon. And yeah, again, I don't think he was really going to go anywhere, was he?
No, very good young talent. Needs some more ice time this year to keep developing. And yeah, Swindon homegrown.
Yeah, I put out a post on the Wildcats Insta of him playing when he was, I think, 5 years old to then 9 years old, and he's still going at 17, and he's still got that bushy hair, even when he was younger. So yeah, I'm really happy Josh is back. Still only 18 years old. I wonder if he'll get his face cage off. He turned 18 last season and he kept it on, so we'll see if he takes that off. I think Jamie Smith did say that he's taking his off for next season. So we'll see if he can persuade Josh to as well. And then the final couple ones, and Bristol have made some action. I think these are two pretty decent little moves. I know they've cleared out a lot of players, and Barry's obviously got an idea of some of the players he needs to bring in, and they do have to bring in quite a few because they've had quite a lot of exits. The first one was Finn Page, and we don't know too much about him, Dan. Obviously, you know the Fife fan, and he talked about Finn, and he didn't really get given an opportunity at Fife. He was actually used as a forward, I think you said, when
Yeah,
he is a defenseman. But it sounds like he is quite a physical player, and I think he'll be able to keep up with the physicality of this league.
yeah. I think it's definitely a better move for him to go to Bristol because, like you said, he probably wasn't getting the right treatment in Fife. He probably wasn't getting the ice time he wanted when he's at that
Yeah,
age. Bristol will definitely be a good move. He'll definitely get the ice time there and be able to show really what he can do.
yeah,
Especially if they play him in his position as well. Yeah, the Fife fan, Craig Balfour, by the way, little shout out for him. Me and Charlie know him.
Yeah,
Um,
he listens to the pod. Goodbye,
yeah.
Craig Balfour's car. Should be missed.
um, but yeah, he said he throws the body. And I think it's definitely it seems like something that Barry wants to grow in this team. A bit more physicality, sort of
Physicality, yeah,
throw the body, just sort of just not really back down. You know what I mean? And show that bit of fight.
yeah,
So he's obviously known Finn Page from playing in Fife as well, so he knows sort of what he can do and what he's capable of. So he won't have like a player that he just doesn't know a thing about. He won't be able to just throw him in a situation and be like, "Oh, I don't know what he's going to do," because he's obviously had that history with him.
yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
smart from him, really.
Yeah, I think that is a good little signing. Charlie has popped off. I don't know if he's quickly going to the toilet. But the other one that Bristol have signed is Ewan Hill, and I was going to go to Charlie for this one, but from the stats, he's got some really good stats in the league below, and I think he's finally being given that chance. In the National League with Bristol, I think this is a really good opportunity for him to show that he's a good point scorer and he can get some good points even in our league as well. I think he played a few games for the Raiders, and considering he didn't play many, he's still got 3 points, I think, in about 6 games or 7 games. That's quite good considering he would have been used as like a third, fourth liner as well, Dan. So I think that's a nice little pickup with what's actually available around in the English leagues.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see him actually. Because like you said, obviously his points do back him up as a really
Yeah.
good player. It'll be interesting to see what line he's on. It'd be interesting to see if he gets that top six role.
Yeah,
Obviously,
that's a
we need to see
possibility.
who else.
We did
We need to
mention
see
that
who else
actually.
Bristol sign to sort of see where he's going to be. But obviously, if he's showing them points, he might maybe start off the season, maybe and just grow himself up. Um, but he's another guy looking at like their little highlight thing that they put up. He threw the
Physical.
body as well,
Yeah.
and that's again another player that's going to be throwing the body. So you can sort of see where Barry's going with this team.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting, like we've said the past few weeks. It'll be interesting to see where he goes with the team. What sort of players come in? Obviously, they've still got two imports to sign as well.
Two import
So that
slots, yeah.
I think that'll be big. Maybe they'll bring in a big U Sports guy that maybe throws the body like Gale or
Well,
Colby.
I assume they'll get in at least one forward. It'll be interesting to see if they get in an import netty. Obviously, Peterborough have bit the bullet and they've done it. And I think that's important for them. Obviously, losing Marn, bringing him in. They've obviously signed Tyler LaBouche. For me personally, as much as he's a really good talent, I don't know if they can go into the season for him as a starter. So I think it makes sense for them to get an import net minder, but then that means they only have one import slot on the forward. Because
Yeah,
they've got obviously Butler as a D-man, but then I think Butler's a really good player to re-sign as an import because he's shown, especially in the first half of the season, that he can be a really hard player to play against. So it'll be interesting to see what they use their import slots on. I'm sure Barry has some names. Barry McKenzie has some names, which he knows. He's got a lot of experience within the game. So exciting times for Bristol. I think it is exciting times, and I'm really interested to see who they bring in. Do they re-sign Bailey Harewood again? I think that's a big name that they could try and bring back. One player I forgot to mention for Milton Keynes, and again another a really good player to bring in is Corey McEwen. Obviously they signed him last season, and that was quite a shock signing actually. I was surprised he left Peterborough and went to MK, but he's re-signed again with Milton Keynes. And I think he was always available. He played on, as we said with Bully, he could play on any line. He'll play where he wants to play, and I think he's a very defence first guy now. Obviously, we saw him at Swindon when he was a bit younger, and he was definitely more of a point scorer. But I think as he's got older, he's developed more, and maybe that's because he played for Peterborough under Slava. But
yeah,
his defensive game
100%.
has impressed me a lot.
Yeah, I think obviously, I think that's mainly from the
Yeah,
Peterborough stage he's had. Obviously, I think all of the forwards in Peterborough were defence first guys. I think that's how Slava like to play.
yeah.
Um, and obviously, that might have been the reason why MK brought him in. I
Yeah,
think maybe they needed that sort of defensive forward to sort of just give that bit more support,
an
put him on the
intelligent. I'm
third.
not saying they're not intelligent, but a bit of experience and knowledge to play that IQ game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because he was obviously on. He was on the third line, off the third line. So you can throw him out in a situation where maybe the game needs to be sort of shut down.
Yeah.
Throw him in, get the defensive forwards on there, just shut the game down, and he can pick up a few points here and there as well. So he's one of them players that it's one of them perfect players who will do everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was actually really impressed. One of the best fourth lines I've seen was him in the centre role, just controlling it and being the smart player. And then you just had the Hamill brothers either side of him. And they
Just
just
going
went
everywhere.
bonkers whilst he did all the smart plays. And they were just going off like terriers. And I think that was the perfect fourth line. And it caused Swindon absolute problems when we played against them. And I think that was very effective. Obviously, Cam's gone to Bristol. That's another young player who's gone to Bristol. So I'm interested to see who will be either side of McEwen because he will be playing centre. The final signing, I'm sorry if I've... Oh, no. There was a question on another signing, but I will go into them in a second because we did get a question in our Q&A. I'm not sure where Charlie's gone. It's obviously something quite important. The final one was Arsenal to Solway. Solway signing up their second import. I don't know if they've announced Dunbar, but I think Dunbar probably will be staying because he's still doing all their promo stuff. So we'd assume it's their second import in Arsenal. Impressed with his game. I think he settled into the league the more he played, and I think we saw the best of him near the end of the season.
Yeah, he's noticeable that he can carry the puck up the ice.
Yeah, I think that's one of his
He's
strengths.
another one of them guys that you need to pair him with the right D man to get the
Yeah,
best out of him because he's another one that obviously can get caught out. But if there's a player covering him, it'll be perfect. He's got really good stick handling. He can shoot the puck. He can pass the puck. Yeah, he's just it's weird how these D men are sort of coming into this league now because obviously we had Brock and then we had him. It's weird to have two D men like that come in fresh into the league and yeah show off their sort of offensive skills. I mean, you never really used to see that. You always
no,
used to see like defensive defensemen, but obviously they've been playing at the higher levels and they've obviously gained the confidence to sort of carry the puck up. So
yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
think
it's a good signing.
I think it's important to see who they do sign to play next to him because if you want the best out of Arsenal, that is his offensive game where he's gonna drive with the puck, and you almost need, and I have no doubts Martin Grubb knows this. I'm not claiming to be this tactic guy, but you need the players to be able to cover him, just like Swindon do with Bebris. When Bebris wants to go forward and utilize his best strengths of playing in that attacking role. So yeah, I think it's a good re-signing. It's a safe re-signing as well because you know that he can do a good job in the
Yeah.
National League, and it seems like he loved it up in Solway. And a lot of players do when they go to Solway, they say it's not just about playing for the club; it's about making friends there and the whole place around Solway. And obviously, we went. They've got some really nice fields, some nice golf courses, and the vibe in Scotland seems some pretty hype. So yeah, that's
And
pretty much. Oh, go
may,
on.
maybe he might also attract Nolan Gardner. You
Yeah,
never know. Maybe
yeah,
be like, hey, Nolan.
yeah. They are going to miss him if he does move on. Those
Yeah.
50 goals is going to be a big loss. I think I can hear Charlie coming up the stairs. I don't know if he's going back into his room. Um,
Oh,
yeah, here he is. He's come just in time for the Q&As.
the Nan called me. Any
Oh,
signings which I nearly need to uh,
I
state my
think we've
opinion
I
on?
think we've covered them quite well. We were just talking about Arsenal. We talked about his offensive game, and it's one which you can know he's going to do a good job in this league.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, I think everyone wants to hear the Charlie Macca knowledge because obviously
Yeah,
with the predictions I did
I
in the
don't really. I
season,
don't really want to hear
yeah. We
yeah,
don't. We hear
Flynn,
Charlie speak enough about hockey.
Flynn, good signing. Young D man, good talent. Arsenal, I think he'll develop well in his second season. So we know what they're getting. So yeah, not bad.
Yeah, good couple ones. Let's get into some of the questions then. And the first one I'm going to say, and this was from your dad, Dan, and we actually got
it.
one on Twitter as well. Do you think
Gavin,
we go,
Gavin.
Gavin? Do you think the Basingstoke Bison will ever return? We've talked about it a couple times. I really think it depends on whether the council will build a new rink because I do not think you can. I think it'll be cheaper to just get a new one and knock this one down use some money on getting a new rink rather than trying to build this one back up, Dan?
Yeah, I think they will come back, but I think it'll be a few more years yet. I think
Yeah.
once they sort of get everything sorted out and maybe find a new bit of land to build a rink on, because I've heard a few rumours of sort of just a hockey only facility and having that old facility as just like public skate and shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That could be a good option, but yeah, it's all in the air in a minute. But I think they will come back, just not yet.
Yeah. Charlie, have you got anything else to add on that? Do you think they'll
They
come
need
back
some
at
rich
some
man to
point?
come in. They need a rich guy to come in and save the day. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think Basingstoke doesn't look great, but yeah, we need something to change.
Hopefully, we're hoping for the best because we know that there's, just like Dan, so many big Basingstoke fans who's been around for a long time, and Banners on the Walls one as well, who we're close with and we'll get on at some point. Another question, and this is what I've waited out for, Charlie, and that is the signing of Warburton, Norton, and Dan Crow. Does that mean that one of these goalkeepers are going to be left out? And is that going to cause a bit of controversy because they're all young goalkeepers? And Charlie, we've been having this debate the last couple of days, and I think Dan, we spoke about it to you as well. But I think I'll come to you, Charlie, on this. So three young goalkeepers. You got Crow, he's 21. You got Norton, he's 19, and you've got Warburton, who's 22. Charlie, is there going to be a starter throughout the year? Can you actually, if you want to like not do well, you've got to play the goalkeeper on form, like you said. Is that going to cause friction?
For me, there's a starter, and that's
Yeah.
Ben Norton.
Okay.
He's probably GB's most talented goalie in the youth system I know of right now. For me, there's a backup, which is Crow. And for me, there's a Steelers backup, which is Warburton. I may be wrong. Maybe Crow's the backup for Steelers. Warburton's the backup for Sheffield. But I think Norton will take a good chunk of the games. Crow will back up the games. And I think one of the goalies will sit with Steelers the whole year. And I think Sheffield aren't dumb. They'll manage that situation well. They won't go into a season with three goalies expecting to play. Like all three of them wouldn't have signed if they knew all three of them were going to play.
Yeah.
You don't all three sign saying, "Oh yeah, I want starting minutes in the National League," because you're not going to get that because there's three of you. One of them would have signed with that intention, and I do believe that's Norton. I think Norton went there knowing he's gonna be the guy. So be interesting. There definitely could be problems from it, but if it's managed properly and how it should be, I don't think that will cause problems.
Dan, do you have similar opinion on it? I'll say mine quickly before you say something. I do think if you're just throwing one out and leaving them as a backup for the Steelers, I don't know if you switch them, whether the backup or they'll switch the backups, but you're not going to get any improvement from playing. You're going to get. Charlie talked about this yesterday in the pub, and he said that they're going to get so much more training. You're going to be on the ice more, which is absolutely fine. I think you can improve to a certain level doing that, but then there's the level of actually getting game time, and for me, I don't know if all three of them are going to be able to get a substantial amount of game time, which they're happy with. And if one of them's content with being a backup in the Elite League, that's absolutely fine. But I think you've got to play the goalie who's on form. And I think, as Charlie said, I think the better of the three is probably Ben Norton, and he's got the most experience as a number one, playing with Bristol the whole season. And then what do? You've got Warburton, who's backed up before, but he'll still want to be playing. You've then got Crow, who played a bit at the end of last season when Zamostra was injured. So I don't know. I think it could cause a bit of friction. Fair play to someone if they can get it sorted out and they can really make it work. Dan, what's your thoughts on it?
I think Norton is going to be getting most of the games for Steel Dogs, like you said. But I think this is going to be in prepare for next season after, where I think Steelers are going to be looking at Norton to be their maybe backup
Okay.
and get a few games here and there, just sort of get him that experience. I think we also might see Norton come into the Steelers lineup for cup games.
Yeah.
If the Steel Dogs aren't playing. I think that's another thing. I think their main focus is going to be Norton because he is the most exciting one out of three, I think. He's got the biggest future out of all three of them. No offense to the other two, but everyone knows it. But yeah, I think that's what they're going to do with him. And then I think Wolverton and Crow, I think they're just going to switch them around as backups for either team, uh, and just see how it goes from there. I think Wolverton might get the backup slot for Steelers more, as he was the backup a few seasons ago. They sort of know what they're getting with Wolverton, and then they'll obviously work with Crow, I reckon, as well.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Let us know on Twitter or in the comments what you think the situation will be. The next one, do you think? Oh, sorry. There are still no playoff final highlights anywhere, which seems really shambolic. I agree. I think the highlights should be put out, especially if you're a Peterborough Phantoms fan. You want to be able to see that game going on again. But apart from introducing video replays, which we've talked about, what is one thing that you think the league as a whole can do to improve it and make it that step better? Now, I'm not expecting you to pull out an answer straight away.
I know one.
Go on, Charlie.
Get better dops.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. We've talked about that. Do you
I've
want to
got one as
elaborate?
well.
Do you want to elaborate?
Manage the league in more of a professional way.
Okay.
Dops for me just is very uncommunicational. Get it out to the fans by Tuesday, Wednesday in the week. Be communicational with the fans. Let the fans know why you've given it. Then we won't moan.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it personally.
Yeah, Dan, similar reasoning.
Yeah, also it's sort of down to like replays as well, like we've said before. But I think I've said it to you guys. I'd like to see a sort of coaches challenge come in.
Yeah.
I think that would be really interesting to see. I think it'll be a few years yet, but it would definitely be something for the future to look out for.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with you. I think DOPS, they need to get, I don't know if they have got one, but they need to get a new person in to make these calls. And as you said, give reasoning behind those big calls and video evidence to back that up. So, yeah, a bit of a funner one. I think me and Charlie obviously have a Swindon game and then Dan will. But what is our most memorable game of ice hockey? And I'm going to start on this one because it was a couple of seasons ago and we made a little trip down to Milton Keynes. And they took a 3-0 lead. We went 3-0 down. It was Aaron Nell's birthday as well. And I know the Milton Keynes fans have a bit of banter for Aaron Nell. And we were stood when we normally stand at Milton Keynes within the Milton Keynes fans on the boards in the spot we love to go. And we're 3-0 down and we're thinking, okay, it's one of those days. Milton Keynes have smashed us again. And we slowly crept back into the game and back into the game. Russ Cowley scored against Milton Keynes after playing with them the season before. And suddenly we got it back to 3-2. And then Milton Keynes made it 4-2. And we're like, oh. And then we got a 5-on-3, I think. And we brought it back. We got it to 4-3. And then we got that tying goal to make it 4-4. And it went to overtime. And then Jonesy, he got pushed in the back. And it was a penalty. I know Chris Jones is very good at buying penalties and making stuff look as better than they are. But this one was a penalty. It was a cross check in the back. Matthews confirmed it with, I think, one of the better refs out in a really top league. And it was a penalty. And then up steps your boy Charlie, Mr. Thomas Malazinski, and he scored the overtime winner. And we came back from 3-0 down to win in overtime 5-4. And I think we were chanting about Aaron Nell as well, with it being his birthday. So that is probably one of my most memorable games. I think it was just one of the best away games, and the feeling of that overtime winner when it went in was one of my favourites. Dan, I'll come to you next as a Bison fan, and then Charlie, if you've got one as well.
Yeah, I've got a few, but I think one that definitely stands out to me. If any Bison fans are listening that are at the game, they definitely agree. I think we were away at Bristol. This was the last season of Basingstoke. We were away at Bristol, went 4-0 down in the first period. Met them, put it around the boards. It just banged off the boards right into the slot. Went to Smittle and he scored. And we were like, yeah, one of those games on a 10-game losing streak at the time. We were like, yeah, another loss. And then we come out in the second period. You have Metham catches the puck, does a cross ice pass to Sanford, who does a slap shot right into the top corner. So it's 4-1. And then we score another one. And then we score another one. And then Balaz goes and scores another one. And then we're like, all right, here we go, 4-all. And I'm looking and I'm like, yeah, we still got time. Then all of a sudden Balaz comes up again, scores another one, 5-4. And then we're like, okay, this is weird. And then we go into the third period, 5-4 up. And then Ballas comes in again, scores a hat trick, knee slides in front of the Bristol bench. The fans are going mental. And we're like, right, what's just going on here? We're on a 10-game losing streak and we've just come out like this. And then
Ballas
we
is
go,
knee sliding.
yeah, and we're like, this is mental. And then we go and score again. So we've scored 7 unanswered goals away in Bristol. And then we start giving it all that to the fans, start shushing them. And then yeah, we just go mental because,
Oh,
yeah, we just, a win away is the best. And then when you're on a 10-game losing streak as well and finally get that win, it's just unreal.
yeah, that's a good one. Charlie, what's the one that stands out for you?
There's been a couple in recent years, but I think my favourite one was Basingstoke away.
Wow, here we go.
I can't remember whether it's national. I think it's National One, and Brodowski hit someone behind the net. Got a 5-minute penalty. We were 2 goals down in this game. It was in the third period, and on the 5-minute power play, we scored 2 in the first 2 minutes. And then Chris Jones scored to put us 1 goal up. And he just skates past our fans and just goes.
Yeah, we were on the corner.
And I must have been like 14 and I was just going ape. I was losing it because we always had good games versus Basingstoke. Basingstoke and Swindon always warred against each other. And I'd never seen Chris Jones really show too much personality. And he just went, and everyone was going mental, Swindon fans, and we ended up winning that game. I don't think that's the year we won the league, but yeah, that was the first year of the National League, I believe.
Yeah.
When Talford won it. Do you remember? I think you had Kledgner and Brodowski as your imports. Was that the first year of the National League?
Yeah,
been,
yeah, that was
First year of the National League coming back. It was a sick game. And another one was beating Leeds away where Malas cooked. I believe that was last season. So yeah, any game where Malas cooks, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. I've got so many, but yeah, I won't waste time saying them.
Oh yeah, we could do a whole episode talking about him.
Oh,
What has
100%.
been your standouts and signing announcements so far in the NIHL? What's been the not the best signing, but the standout for a team, which you think? And I'm gonna say it has to be a new player because it can't be a re-signing. For me. Oh, I don't know if I'm missing any, but I think the announcement of Davy Phillips could be game changing for Hull, just because we talked a lot about last season them needing just that defensive stability, that level head in defence. And as much as they've lost Brock, I think the forward signing which they've made of Hewitt, that's going to bring output as itself, and they're going to have a whole season of Sobchak. So I think just getting Davy Phillips, he's a GB international. He's played countless years in the Elite League. He's going to be key, and he's going to make it so difficult for those forwards. So I'm going to say Davy Phillips. Charlie, have you got one, or should I go to Dan?
Go down first.
Go to Dan. Go on.
Yeah, mine was going to be David Phillips as well, but another one I've got is Ed Bradley. I think for Swindon.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's one of them players that I'm really interested to see what he plays like under Nell.
Yeah.
I feel like he's one of them players that Nell has been wanting for a while, a bit like Billing last season.
Yeah.
He's been around the south apart from Swindon. So
Yeah.
and he's shown what he can do. So I'm interested to see what he can do and how Swindon use him as well.
Oh, Charlie, I've got one who I think you could go with. Go on.
Hayden Langvingen, the import goalie.
Oh, Leving, yeah.
I think that's gonna be good signing.
I thought you were going to say Lackinen actually, but
Yeah, I
Leving.
thought you were going to say that. I was going to say that, but
I thought I think an import net is gonna be good fun at Peterborough, and I think it's gonna rattle so many people, and I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
can
if there
imagine the tweet. Like he goes up to Hull, and I can imagine Andy. I can imagine he listens to the pod. Imagine Andy. Oh, that stupid import goalie with a couple more bad language. He's just robbed them. Import goalie should never be allowed in this league.
nah, he'll just be calling him a sieve the whole time. That's all he does, isn't he?
But, he is very funny. But nah, I think he'll be a fun player to watch. Can't lie. I can't wait to see an import goalie.
Yeah. On the topic of imports, another question we got in: should there be a fourth import, and how many imports would be too many? And I'm going to start this off by saying, right now, I think four would be too many. There is already, well, it's not a massive gap between the top and the bottom. I think the gap has closed up. But I do think a fourth import would negatively impact a couple teams near the bottom who don't have as big a budget, or we know can't spend as much as some of the top teams. And I think three's fine. I think it still gives plenty of opportunity to some Brits, and I think we're seeing a lot of Brits from the league below being able to come up and get an opportunity because it's not dominated by imports. Do I think there's going to be a time where a fourth import comes into place? I do. I'm not sure how long that will be. But yeah, I think we could get back up to maybe a fourth, and possibly a five, but I don't think that's going to be anytime soon. And I'm happy with the three, staying as it is for the next couple of years. Dan, on to you.
Yeah, I think three's a good amount, especially with the Brits that we've got as well at the minute. Sort of coming through, it's sort of a good little
And coming
good.
down as well.
Yeah. You've got a good little. There's a good number with them. I think too many would be six. I
Okay.
would like to see it go back to five. But yeah, like you say, that would be a while, and obviously you'd need to have a bit more money put into this league. Obviously, if anyone watched back in the EPL days, you knew how good quality the teams were with the five imports, and you can use the imports in different ways. Um,
I think we
but
would
yeah,
see a lot of import goalies, so if we got
yeah,
five.
yeah, definitely a few import goalies, a lot more import D men maybe because of the Brit forwards that have come through. Um, yeah, but I think three at the minute is a nice amount.
Charlie?
Six is too many. I'd like to see four next season.
Ooh,
I
okay.
think,
As early as next season, you reckon?
yeah, I think the D cores in this league aren't strong enough as the forwards.
Yeah, okay.
I think getting four imports would make most teams, if not all teams, go for an import D man.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I think it's good to see import D men in this league. I think it challenges the Brits. I think it makes the Brits better. And yeah, I think for next year would be a good step if all teams were able to financially make that jump
Yeah.
and able to house. It's not so much, from what I've heard, it's not so much financially be able to make that jump. You don't have to pay import stacks of cash, but it's the housing which is the expensive bit. The
Yeah.
housing's the harder bit. So if all teams are able to house them, I think definitely a step to make. And actually, debatably, I think having more imports makes the bottom teams more competitive if they can afford them,
Yeah.
because it would mean bees can have four good players, so they don't have to focus on having potentially better Brits, which gets nicked by the top teams. You
Yeah.
can always get imports. There's millions of imports out there,
Yeah.
but
You can get some stud imports.
there's
Yeah.
not millions of Brits. And the way the gap will get bigger is the MK Swindons Leeds take all the good Brits, and the Bees are left with the worser Brits on paper.
Yeah. We did have a couple questions which we're not going to answer because I think we will do that a bit later. And one of them was our final predictions. Oh, sorry, that was NHL final predictions. Oh, I thought that was for NIHL
Florida
final
four.
predictions. Florida 4. Shut up, Charlie.
Uh,
Shut up. Oilers
Florida
are
will
winning
win.
tonight.
We're
Oh,
recording on a Monday.
wait, two
Florida,
secs. Go on.
Florida will win tonight. Florida Panthers will win tonight. Look at this pathetic man.
What a jersey, by the way. Who brought that?
Shout
Florida will
out
win
to
tonight.
Dan.
What a jersey.
Shout
Florida
out
Straight
to
win
from
Dan.
tonight.
Canada as well.
Then game three will be really intense. It will go to overtime. Matthew Kachuk will score the winner, do the heartbreaker. Oilers will be devastated, and they will go into the fourth game with their heads down a bit. And
Yeah,
Florida will
shut up.
score.
Right, Dan. Dan, we're moving on to you. Realistic prediction.
I think
Obviously, Oilers are 1-0 down at the moment.
I think it'll be Florida in six. I'm rooting for the Edmonton Oilers because obviously, like I said, I want a Canadian team to win it. Um, and I'm obviously a Leafs fan, so repping the Canadian teams. But yeah, I think realistically, I think Florida will come out on top.
I'm still going to go positive. Oilers have got to win tonight. They have to win tonight.
Yeah.
to get that 1-1 rather than a 2-0, and then you got to win your two at home. So I'm going to go Oilers win tonight, and they're going to win it in 6 because I don't think they win it in 7, so I'm going to go 6. One which we couldn't do is like our little team, but there's not really been too many players signed for us to make a little all-star team. So we'll do that, I think, in a later episode. Pardon me. If we could predict another player to come down from the Elite League, who would it be? Now, I'm going to start again. We were talking about this. I could possibly see Sam Talbot coming down. He hasn't been signed by an Elite League team. Obviously, Guildford have signed Norris. They've got Wooler as well. That's 2 Brit slots, and I don't know if Talbot will be in their plans. Talbot could sign for another Elite League team. I don't really know, but I could definitely see him going back to MK. I know it's been on that rumor account, but I could definitely see him dropping down. Dan, any players you think? Any older players? Obviously, we've just seen Phillips. That was rumored for a while.
Josh Batch. I think I could see him coming down
I'd do
to
anything.
either maybe Swindon, maybe Bristol. Maybe they obviously maybe have that link with Byron McKenzie, obviously playing in the Elite League. Knows what he can do. You never know.
Yeah, he would be the dream. Go on, Charlie. Pardon?
Gordon County from Glasgow.
Is that because it's ruined it a lot to Solway?
I reckon it'll go to Solway Sharks.
Yeah, it is. It has been rumored a lot.
And then Robert Dowd to Swindon Wildcats.
That is the worst one.
What, like Scott Conway becoming player coach of Bison when they come back? Yeah, that's a good one as well.
I did hear actually Dowd is 16 points, I think, from breaking the all-time Elite League point record. So I don't think he's going to be leaving the Elite League anytime soon. Right, a couple last ones. We'll leave that one till the last one because that is a little funny, silly one, I think. Which one of my best mates wrote. Sorry, let me just go on to the tweet. So we'll go with this last one and then Mitch's last one. Would you rather your team wins the National Cup and the league or win the playoffs? I think this is quite an easy one. Take the National Cup out of it, whether it's league or playoffs. I'm still taking the league. Don't get me wrong, the playoffs would be so much. I think the playoffs is cooler in a way because all the fans are watching you win it in that rink. But I think the better achievement and the one you always want to win is the league. Dan, what about you?
Yeah, 100%. I'll go for the league because it's the course of the season. It's where you've played over a season, not just a one-off game. You know what I mean? So 100%. I'm taking the league over anything.
I know Charlie's answer to this. Go on.
Yeah, league's 10 times the playoffs.
Yeah, you play the whole season.
If you're talking NHL, it's different.
Yeah, NHL is so much.
In our league,
the
league is 54 games and the playoffs is 8.
Yeah.
It's just not comparable. The playoffs is a harder one-off game. But if the playoffs was best out of 3, then I put a lot more value on the playoffs. But because it's just one game, you can win it through just having one good performance.
Which I know we'll never be able to do this, but it would be so cool if you could do a best of 3. Not even a best of 5, just a best of 3. Where basically, if you're a new hockey fan, you don't know the NHL ones. It's first to 4 wins against just one team and they've got 4 rounds of this if they get to the final. So I'd love to see if Leeds are against Bees, for example, they do a best of 3. Starting in Leeds, then Bees, and then if it goes to that 3rd game, it would then be in Leeds because they finish higher. I think that would be so cool. But obviously with schedule and hiring out the rinks and stuff like that, maybe some ties finish a bit earlier. I don't think we'll ever do that. But I don't mind the playoffs as it is. I'm really happy they've gone to. That was another question, actually. Do you like the playoff format? I do like the playoff format. I prefer it with having your little group. It makes it so much more interesting than literally just 2 games. So I'm happy with it, and I hope it stays like that. And the final question, Charlie, how many NHL teams would Thomas Malasinski get into?
32.
Well, you would be wrong.
But he'd reject about 24 of them. because he'd only play for teams which are capable of winning playoffs.
All right. Yeah, that is a silly question. I love Malas, but yeah, I would love to see him in the Elite League. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Just to prove Charlie wrong, yeah.
Right. That is all of it for today. We've been going for longer than an hour. I know there was loads of signings which again were quite old. But we'll keep on going. In terms of the team specials, I still think the teams will need to sign a few more players for us to go through all the rosters and give some realistic expectations and predictions, etc. And obviously, we mentioned in the last couple episodes, there might be times where Charlie's not here. There might be times where Dan steps in, or my dad steps in, or even my mum. She could step in as well and do a job. So yeah, we'll have to see. Thank you very much for listening. I think might do this Q&A thing a bit more often if we don't have an interview, but we've got a few interviews which players have said they'll do. It's just about arranging them for the right time. So yeah, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please please follow all our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye.
Yeah.